Get rid of all the things that people are telling you so that you know when they tell you, oh, you know what, don't do that, do this. You can know when you watch those infomercials and you can watch those commercials and hear what your friends say, go to the aisle and shop, that what's true, what's not. That's not real, that's not true. So it's really important, I think, for us to filter out these extraneous, these extra kind of false informations. And when you really talk to people, the people that kind of know a little bit, and you kind of watch if they know a little bit, they might say that the cause of acne is because of dirt. No, it's because, oh, I got my face dirty or I touched my face, but in fact, it's not dirt. And these days, now that I've cured my acne from the inside, I can go out and rub my face in dirt for hours. Not that I would do that because that would really hurt, and I would still not break out. And most normal people who don't have acne, all this stuff going on, they can do that. They can go out, and if you see, most of these guys don't even these people don't really wash their faces or even care for their skin, yet they have all this dirt on their face and they don't really even, it doesn't matter, because dirt isn't really the true cause of acne. Some people think it's makeup that's clogging their pores. To a certain extent, makeup does it might aggravate, and these factors might aggravate your acne, but if you really have cured your acne from the inside out, makeup really doesn't cause acne. In fact, if it did cause acne, then why is it that a lot of people can put makeup on? And you probably know a lot of your friends who put makeup on all the time, yet they don't have acne. Because makeup doesn't cause acne. It's not genetics. Some people say, oh, I was just born like this. But not everyone who is born like this has acne. I no longer have acne anymore. And it really isn't the cause of acne. But some people who have my particular body type, they still have acne. And what's the difference between us two? The difference is that I've taken control of that third factor, lifestyle, and I really applied the principles of my acne coach and the acne-free diet and how to clear acne, and I changed all this. So it's not really the cause. It can be changed. It's not really touching your face, because I can touch my face all the time now, and it doesn't make a difference. In the past, it wasn't like this. I would touch my face and I would know that there was going to be a pimple. If I accidentally touched my face right here, there was definitely going to be a pimple here by tomorrow. If not, maybe in a few hours or something. I was so afraid of touching my face. But in fact, that's not the cause of acne either. And I guarantee you and I both know that if you went up to your friends and you touched them in the face, they might say, what are you doing? But then after that, they wouldn't have acne. After they were like, why are you poking me in the face, man? But it's really not touching your face. That's not the cause of acne. You can touch a lot of people in the face. But if somebody touched you in the face, you would have acne. Why? What's going on there? Why does that work like that? It's because our body types are different from you and your friend, right? Lack of sleep. It's really not lack of sleep either. That's another false cause of acne. And I think you've known many people who really sleep very little, yet they don't have any acne. That friend of mine who used to drink Coke and coffee with lots of sugar in the morning, Starbucks in the morning, he slept very little, and he used to watch a lot of TV. Yet he had crystal clear skin, and I was not cool with that, because I try to sleep as much as possible. And my parents would always say, oh, you have acne because you're not getting enough sleep. So I would sleep a lot, and maybe my acne would improve a little bit, but it didn't make that much difference. And there were days where I didn't sleep at all, and I still have acne. And there were days that I slept a lot and I broke out even more. It didn't really make any sense. The pattern wasn't lining up. It wasn't consistent. Sleep didn't really correlate. It didn't really seem like it was tied with acne. And after learning all the principles, I found that sleep, while it is very important, it's not a cause of acne. Stress. So when it comes to stress, a lot of people believe that, oh, every time I stress out, I break out with acne. Stanford University actually did an interesting study where 22 students during exam time had the worst amount of stress, and the study noticed that they had the worst amount of acne. They noticed that stress stimulated the adrenal glands, which created more hormones, which created or hormonal imbalance, which then therefore led to acne. And that stress also slowed down the healing process, which caused their acne scars that they already had from the breakouts to go away slower. So at the very end, this study really recommended that we decrease the amount of stress, that we focus more on our health, and that we got more sleep, we changed our bad habits, and we ate better and changed our diets, and therefore we would be able to decrease our acne. Right, and I think this is very true. I think that stress really does tie in with acne, and it does affect your body in many different ways. Though I think it's a little bit more complicated than that in terms of stress causing acne, because I'm sure we all know somebody who stresses out all the time, yet they still have great skin, and maybe they sleep bad, and they still have great skin, and maybe they don't take care of their bodies, so they still have clear, beautiful skin, and it doesn't make any sense. So while I think Stanford's study does apply in some degree, it's not, I wouldn't say acne is a cause. And a lot of other people are saying that bacteria is the cause of acne, and I think that kind of ties in with dirt and touching your face, that we have this idea that when you touch your face, there's a lot of bacteria on your hands and in your nails, and that's what's getting onto our skin and causing acne. But to a certain extent, if you were to, again, touch your face, touch your friend's face, after they ask you to stop poking at their face, because why, this is the second time, they would probably not have acne. But why is that? And it's because it's bacteria. If you put acne bacteria on their face, it would just die, because they don't have the acne problem that we have. Now, if we move on to people who have a little bit more knowledge about acne, they would say it's because of, if they have a little bit, some knowledge about acne, they would probably say overactive sebaceous glands. And for those of you who have done a little bit of your research, you probably don't know what overactive sebaceous glands are. For those of you who still are new to this concept, it's basically you have a gland in your pore and it's overly active, hence overactive sebaceous gland. And it's producing all this oil called sebum, and it's clogging your pores because there's all this stuff just coming out of your pores. And if it's clogging your pores, and some of these would then say that clogged pores leads to blackheads and whiteheads, and that's what's causing your acne. But in fact, I think we know many people who have overactive sebaceous glands. That's basically oily skin. I'm sure we can think of one or two or many people that have oily skin, yet they don't have acne. And I think at one point you might have been looking at them and thinking to yourself, your skin's really oily, it's really shiny, but you don't have acne, you have clear skin. I remember being at this party and looking at this girl's face, and she had really nice skin. This is back when I had acne. She had really nice skin, yet it was really oily. It was more oily than mine. But she didn't have acne. And I kept thinking to myself, her skin's so oily, why does she have acne? Is overactive sebaceous glands? She probably has them, but she probably doesn't. It's probably not the cause of acne then. So I crossed that off my list. And some people are saying clogged pores then. So whiteheads and blackheads in your skin. I know many people, and you probably know many people too, if you really look at their skin, who, when you really get close and you look at their blackheads and whiteheads, you can see that they indeed have a lot, yet they don't have any acne. What's going on there, right? It's because just because their pores are clogged, whether with blackheads or whiteheads, doesn't mean that they're going to have acne for sure. In fact, there are many people that have this problem and that have clogged pores and they don't have acne, because clogged pores, black and whiteheads, aren't the cause of acne. And in fact, many people have black and whiteheads already in their skin and they don't have acne, they don't have pimples. Some of people might say, oh, well, it's because of bad diet, it's because of the air or the water, it's because of the temperature, maybe like it's really hot, that's why I'm breaking out right now, or it's really cold, my skin's getting really dry whenever the temperature gets really hot or cold, that's when I start breaking out. Now, to a certain extent, that's kind of true. There might be a connection there because it's hot. You might break out, but then let's just place this person who's really clear. They have clear skin. Let's take this person who has clear skin. They've never had acne in their life, and we put them in a hot and cold environment, and all they do is sweat when it's hot, and then get really cold when it's cold. So, if heat and temperature and air and water and what they drank really, because some people also say, oh, I'm using hard water, I'm using soft water, I notice the difference in my acne. If we take this person who's clear, we put them in, maybe we give them like the worst kind of water, and then we give them like really hot temperatures, it doesn't mean that they're going to break out. I mean, that, you know, then if heat and temperature, if you really think about it in a logical way, wouldn't it make sense? But in fact, these people won't break out. They're not going to have acne all of a sudden. This is because air and water don't really affect acne. Now, bad diets don't really cause acne too, because if you take this person who's clear over here and you give them a bad diet, you have them eat all this junk food, a lot of these people don't really eat healthy anyway. A lot of them don't have acne. They might have other problems. They might have balding, they might have teeth decay, they get a lot of cavities, they might have bad eyesight, or they might have low energy and need to sleep all the time, they get tired, they might be fat. But they don't have acne. Why does acne happen to us? What is causing our bodies to react in a way where we're breaking out with pimples? So the third group of people are people that, if they know the truth, they'll say hormones and puberty, inflammation, and those who have a sense of humor might say, maybe I did something bad in my previous life. If they believe in like the Buddhism, reincarnation kind of stuff, maybe I made fun of somebody with acne, that's why I had acne in this life. But in fact, hormones and puberty actually play a big part, because if you noticed, there's generally a pretty good connection between people who are going through puberty in their lives, and generally they have a change in their bodies. So the way puberty works is you take a 8-year-old boy and then document and track the growth from the 18-year-old boy to when he's 18, or an 8-year-old girl to when she's 18. You generally have her go through puberty. And what that means is her hormones, her body's going to be changing dramatically. His body's going to be changing dramatically. He's going to grow taller, they're both going to grow taller, she's going to develop breasts, she's going to develop curves, and he's going to grow an Adam's apple, his voice is going to drop, he's going to get more muscular, he's going to start growing facial hair. The reason these things happen are because our bodies are changing, and the hormones in our bodies are directing our bodies to grow in certain ways and change in certain ways. And there's this whole metamorphosis, this whole transformation that really happens. And if something actually goes wrong, we can see some weird stuff happen, hence something like acne, right? If everything's not in place and not in perfect balance, when all these huge changes are happening, we can see some weird things happen. And the second thing is, somebody might say, inflammation. So, as you might know already, for those of you who've done some of your research, your pimple is basically inflamed. It's an inflamed part of your body, and that's why it kind of hurts when you touch it. It's kind of swollen. The cause of that is it's really an inflammation of your skin, and that's the kind of cause that we really want to get down to the bottom. And how do we stop that? And for those of you who are saying did something bad in a previous life, I kind of believe that. You know what? It's probably good not to make fun of people who have acne. So once you clear your acne, I want you guys all to go back and share this knowledge, not let people walk around suffering from acne, because you don't want to break out with acne again in your next life and not know about my DVD and my program. I mean, that would just be a terrible thing. Have to go through this whole thing all over again? I mean, not cool. So definitely want to change that in your next life if you believe in reincarnation. And if you don't, then moving on. Anyway, the true cause of acne